I've been wanting to share this experience for a while now, and with many learning, it might help. A few of you that will hear this have been taught the golden rings and how our cells listen, they respond. And when we tell ourselves that we're ill, hurt, or otherwise, I think it's funny when my son is coughing in the background. He's at the tail end of something that was passed around in town and brought home, and yesterday he was complaining that his nose was clogged, like hardcore, like you couldn't breathe, and he doesn't like that, right? So he was fussing about it, and he kept saying it. And I said, well, you're getting more of what you're saying. Instead, thank yourself for allowing it to release. And then blow your nose. He's like, I blew my nose and nothing came out. I said, there you're saying it again. Thank yourself for allowing the release. And instantly, and of course I'm interacting in those moments as well, the two observers, and instantly it broke, and he had no choice but to blow his nose. It just broke free. It's that simple with each quote-unquote illness or dis-ease within, or blockage, or pain, or ache, or otherwise, okay? So this particular experience, I had been playing with the golden rings for, I don't know, maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years, maybe less than that. I'm processing, it was a little less than 1 year actually. And my physical form was all in order. Right before learning them, all the 6 techniques, right before that, I was broken physically, mentally, spiritually, for that matter, because of everything that was my life at that time. I was in a car accident that didn't allow me to work, so financially we were burdened. And at one point we shared, and my husband and I shared an apple that day. That was all we had. And I remember that just rock bottom, right? And of course me repeating everything, the same thing. I hurt, I'm in pain. I was, sure. At the same time, doctors giving pain medicines, those weren't really helping. The one doctor that I was seeing regularly and only gave pain medicines, no other solutions, stated I should be better by now. And I was like, well, I'm not. I couldn't even do dishes. I couldn't create. I couldn't work still. And it had been 2 years. Shortly after this, I started using essential oils, which did help. And I started seeing a chiropractor, which did help. Clearly in the x-rays, the chiropractor pointed out where I was unaligned in my physical body. The oils were helping. They were reducing the pain. I was able to actually sleep. I was able to actually function and do the basics of life, clean, cook, laundry, without excruciating pain. So it was getting better, but it still wasn't gone. And I still had to go back to the chiropractor over and over again to pop me back into place because I kept unaligning. Well, then I learned these techniques, and I worked on aligning my own body. Did I use essential oils at the same time? Yes. They were definitely helpful. They did reduce the pain. I could feel it move through my bloodstream in more awareness. I could feel the release. Placebo is often talked about. I've purposely placed these oils on people and not described what may or may not happen. I just simply said, well, maybe this will help. And then often, especially with those that are very stubborn, no, nothing's helping. Which was even more exciting to do the placebo testing because they were already determined it wouldn't help. And each time, within about 15 minutes, I would bring awareness back to their body. and they indeed felt better. I purposely avoided energy passing, energy work. I purposely put the oil on their fingers and not on mine so that I didn't touch them at all. So, the true test of placebo, is it completely placebo? More importantly, I've tested it on animals, and I'm not telling them ahead of time. They have no idea what herb will or will not help. So, on oils for the placebo level, I've have enough responses to know it's not just placebo. It is increasing vibrational frequency, it is moving through the cells, it is moving through the bloodstream, and the research that goes with it proves this as well. My point, with the golden rings and the energy work, at some point close to this particular story, there was less use of oils because of, one, I was healing and no longer in pain, so I didn't even need to go to them, but two, the meditations were enough. So I remember it was my my first son's third birthday, and we had a party for him set at the bowling alley, and I finally had the energy and ability to move about, and had planned a whole party, cake and everything from scratch. We did everything all out for him, and it was all packed. I was ready to go, and I had about 30 minutes before we needed to start moving about to leave. So I laid down to do golden rings. And I remember clearly going up my body and realizing, wow, there's nothing left in my body to pay attention to, focus to, align, heal at all, right? Which was cool. And I remember thinking to myself, well, there's nothing left to heal. And I felt myself, I heard myself laugh at myself. The first reverb of reflection that in today's thoughts, it reminded me. I heard myself laugh, and I was like, what? And I heard, felt, sensed your brain, and I thought, oh, my teacher hadn't really talked to me about that part, and I have to admit I got excited. Ooh, I could go inside my brain and look around. Well, how cool will this be? All the teachings and learnings on the neuroscience side of things is a passion of mine, an interest, and so I go. I paid attention to in my brain. Well, what am I going to see? Like I went in innocently and not expecting any particular thing. And I remember seeing the neurons and thinking, well, gosh, maybe this is influenced by, images I had witnessed, books, MRIs, all sorts of images that, were within. But I could sense clearly these were my neurons, not someone else's. I could see and sense and feel the electricness that was within the neurons dancing around. I could sense all of that in milliseconds. And then I remember thinking, well, what do I need to do in here? And I felt this kind of, reminder. Alzheimer's runs in our family. And I had already known the myelin sheaths play a role. The breakdown of those sheaths slows all levels. And I had already had an experience that scared me. My food at the time, my diet was not great. All sorts of things were contributing, high in metals that I later cleansed. So I was being affected. Well, before even cleansing and doing this moment, I remember, thinking about the myelin sheaths. So then I thought, well, I want them to be smooth and I want them to be healthy. And I remember clearly, like it was yesterday, a lightning show and a half going off inside my mind. And I raced along all of the neurons. All of these pathways went all over the place. The myelin sheath smoothed, and the increase of memory, speed, all accelerated. That's what it felt like. Okay, well, then that slowed. It's like I got to the end of it somehow. And then it slowed, and then it just stopped, and I just kind of floated for a minute, and I thought, well, what else can I do? So I just started kind of maneuvering around, just kind of floating around, if you will. And I came across this really dense space of matter. And I have to admit, it scared me for a second. All I thought was tumor. And then I heard and felt clearly, no, it's your memories. And I thought, my memories of what? And instantly flashed to lots of images of childhood. And heard, sensed, felt instantly, this is the bundle and where you cycle back around to in your memories every time you're re-triggered. So I took that moment, just to take it in and be like, what in the world? And then I was like, well, how can I get rid of it? And I heard, cut it away. And I kind of laughed, like, cut it away, how? And instantly there were scissors in my hand. As odd as it might sound, those of you that have played in this space, you understand what I mean. Instantly scissors were there, and I started to cut away the edges of the ball that were connected to the neurons. When I get to the end of this big sphere, which looks huge in this aspect, I was teeny tiny, much like a magic school bus, how they go inside the body. It looks huge from where I was, but it's tiny, certainly. It's dangling from one neuron, one synapse, rather. So I think, well, what am I supposed to do with it now? And I heard, felt, sensed, obliterate it to 1 billion trillion little pieces and poop it out. And I thought, what in the world? Poop it out? How in the world? It's in my brain, like I'm sitting there arguing with myself. Anyways, I clipped that last little piece that was holding on, and I obliterated it into 1 billion trillion little pieces. I couldn't figure out how to poop it out at that moment, so I just left it be. I remember slowly turning back towards it, and all those things that I had cut were just kind of hanging and dangling. I thought, well, what am I going to do with that now? And I heard, sew it back together. And I was like, sew it back together with what? Again, I'm arguing with myself. And I hear the words so softly, with compassion, with love, with acceptance. So I began to sew it together with that. When it was all nice and tidied again, I remember just kind of, what else can I do today? But more importantly, I was kind of done. I came out of meditation, and it was time for me to go, and I left it at that. I can tell you in hindsight, I never re-triggered back to that very bad space. I never found myself in fetal position in the middle of a floor. Never found myself as low as I could have, that I constantly got before I did that. Was it happening regularly? No, maybe 3-4 times a year. But when it did happen, it was intense. Well, I never, ever went back to that spot. Did I still have healing to do? Yes, lots of it. Were there other things that still re-triggered from things and other memories? Yes, I still had to address each one of those. My point is, as you go in and you're looking for your stuff, one, know you're not limited to just your body. You can go inside your mind and play. And more importantly, go in with intent and a specific, or just go in childlike. Sure, we can go and say, okay, well, I'm going to work on my knee today again. My knee is healing, the tissue is healthy, the bone is healthy, the muscles are relaxed. Whatever it is you need for your specific, the neurons in my body are functioning properly, and my lymph nodes are functioning properly, whatever your focus might be. But more importantly, also dance around yourself in childlike innocence. You never know what you might come across. Much love, precious treasures from above. It's good to know more are seeking inside, to do what's natural. You'd be surprised how your cells love to be noticed. Love on them. And enjoy your reverb. Giggle with yourself.